Hi, it's Shirley. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about all the free resources that you can use when prepping for the GMATs. When I was prepping for the GMAT, I didn't take any courses. I preferred to self-study on my own schedule, and I definitely relied on some of these resources in prepping for the exam. If you want to learn more about how I personally went from scoring a 690 to a 750, I actually have already talked about this in another video. I will link to that here, but I didn't use any expensive prep courses when I was studying for the GMAT. I also have a separate video specifically on how to prep for the new GMAT Focus format, and I will also link that up here. On the agenda for today, we're going to talk about what the GMAT is and why it's so important. We'll also cover free lessons that you can use, as well as free practice tests, and also some forums that will be helpful for you as you prep. And lastly, I have a personalized plan for you to best utilize all these resources. So firstly, what exactly is the GMAT? GMAT also stands for Graduate Management Admission Test, and it's a standardized exam used by business schools for admission. It has 4 primary sections: quant, verbal, integrated reasoning, and analytical writing. The biggest and most important 2 sections are the quant and verbal sections. Overall, the exam tests your skills in critical thinking, problem solving, and analytical writing. For better or worse, your GMAT score is still a really crucial component of your business school application. Not only does a high score obviously make you a more competitive candidate for admission, but it can also open the door to scholarship and fellowship consideration. There are a lot of prep materials that you can use to prepare for the GMAT. It's almost overwhelming, but today we're going to cover all of the excellent free resources that you can use to achieve a really high GMAT score without breaking the bank. So let's start with free lessons. First up, we have Khan Academy, which provides free lessons that can be very useful when prepping for the GMAT. Khan Academy covers many foundational topics that are tested on the GMAT, such as algebra, geometry, statistics, and their SAT reading videos can help you understand foundational comprehension techniques that can also be really useful for the GMAT verbal section. Although the GMAT is more advanced, the approach can be very similar. What I also love about Khan Academy is how structured and easy to understand their lessons are. They make even the most complex math concepts very accessible, especially for beginners. Next up, we have the Moo GMAT App, which is a free app that gives you access to a ton of resources to study for both the quant and verbal sections. The app includes links to free lessons, blogs, and video tutorials. It's designed for really easy on-the-go studying. It's super convenient having just multiple resources all in one app, so you can easily study anywhere at any time. The app makes it super easy to review questions while you're on the move, which is a huge time saver. It's super convenient, and it's really nice to be able to study just whenever you have your phone with you. Next, let's talk about free practice tests. When I was studying for the GMAT, I took a lot of practice tests. The GMAT isn't really like any other exam because it continually adjusts and adapts to your performance, which means the better you do, the harder it gets. So it's really important to just get familiar with taking an adaptive test because it's definitely a unique experience and it almost guarantees that timing will always be a potential issue. The first free test that I have on my list, the GMAT's official GMAT prep software, is the gold standard. Since it's made by the creators of the GMAT, it offers the most accurate representation of the actual exam. You'll get 2 full-length practice tests, and those questions are the most accurate representation of what you'll see on the actual exam. I would recommend taking one test early on to assess your initial level, and then take another one closer to your actual exam date to track your progress. It's really important to use official materials to get a real sense of the exam's difficulty and types of questions. Every other prep company tries to simulate how GMAT writes the GMAT, but of course no one's going to be able to replicate it quite like GMAT. They're the only true creators of the GMAT exam. Another great resource is Magoosh's free GMAT practice test. It's a detailed assessment with a score prediction, and it has a subject-by-subject breakdown to really help you understand where you need to focus. This video is actually sponsored by Moo, which means I have a special offer for you. You can get a free GMAT practice test with accurate score prediction and a subject-by-subject performance breakdown. All you have to do is click the link that I have in the description. This Moo practice test lets you do a single section like data insights, or you can do the entire whole assessment and it's completely free. Moo has helped millions of students prep for the GMAT, and it's fully updated for the new GMAT Focus format. They also offer an unbeatable price. They're a fourth of the price of all the competitors. They also offer a score improvement guarantee, up to 70 points improvement or your money back. Moo includes 800 plus questions, full-length tests, and over 200 video lessons. Plus they give you smart feedback to track and turn your weaknesses into strengths. You get email assistance whenever you get stuck, and of course with the mobile app you can take your prep with you anywhere you go. Next is Manhattan Prep's free GMAT practice test. It's known for its challenging questions, so it's really a great way to gauge your readiness. They include detailed explanations for every answer, so you'll really have the opportunity to understand any mistakes that you make. I think it's really valuable to practice with challenging questions just to push yourself and make sure you really understand the GMAT format. And lastly, let's not forget about forums. It can be really helpful having a community to get advice from, to learn from. If you like learning from others, GMAT Club is a great community-driven forum. They have an extensive collection of free practice questions contributed by the community, and they also have really detailed discussions that help explain various problem-solving methods and approaches to both quant or verbal questions. There's a lot of benefit to learning from a community of other GMAT test takers and getting different perspectives, getting a wide variety of different questions. And last but not least, shout out to Reddit. That can also be a great resource for finding answers to really specific questions. So lastly, let's talk about a personalized plan for you. Here's how I'd recommend you go about your prep to really make the most of these GMAT resources based on your skill level. If you're a beginner, you're just starting to prep for the GMAT, I would use some diagnostic tests, practice tests, to kind of assess where your current level is and help you develop a really structured study plan. I'd maybe start with Khan Academy for some lessons, as well as GMAT's official prep software to kind of build a strong foundation. Next, let's say you've already started on your prep a bit, so you're a bit more intermediate, a little bit further along on your journey. I would focus on targeted practice to really address your weaknesses. I'd recommend Moo's practice test. I'd also recommend Manhattan Prep's GMAT test to really identify which areas need improvements. And lastly, for more advanced students, if you've been prepping for some time, I'd start to refine your skills by really practicing doing full-length practice tests under realistic conditions. I'd try to replicate taking the test as closely as possible. Really just get comfortable with the actual experience of taking the full-length exam. In addition, I'd recommend GMAT software for official questions, and also GMAT Club for some extra challenging problem sets. Lastly, let me just leave you with some general tips. Set a timeline for using each of these resources. Start with more foundational lessons and then move to practice tests. Also, definitely mix and match your resources. For instance, you can use Khan Academy for foundational learning, use GMAT software for more realistic practice, and then turn to Magoosh and Manhattan for more detailed feedback. Lastly, I would track your progress by really keeping an eye on your scores and how they improve over time. Let me know if you have any other free resources that I missed that you found really helpful. But that's really it for today's video. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe for more GMAT tips, and be sure to check out the links in my description for all of my recommended free resources. Thanks for watching, and best of luck with your prep.